Welcome to today's deep dive. It's really so good to have you with us. Usually when we talk about focus, we think of like a magnifying glass.
Right.
The underlying assumption is that if you want to understand something, whether it's a problem at work, a relationship, a financial decision, you have to get incredibly close to it.
Oh, definitely.
You zoom in, you obsess over the tiny granular details, and you assume that the closer you get, well, the clearer the picture will become.
Yeah, I mean, that is the standard operating procedure for almost everyone living in the modern world. We totally equate proximity with clarity. We
Exactly.
assume that if we just stare harder at the immediate variables, right in front of our noses, we will somehow find the perfect solution.
But what if that is entirely backward? What if staring too closely at your life is the exact mechanism that makes it feel so overwhelming and chaotic?
Right, which is a scary thought.
It really is. Today, we are taking a deep dive into a really profound concept that completely flips our understanding of focus. We're looking at this fascinating 2022 essay by an author named Shufeng. And the mission of this deep dive is to help you, the listener, cut through the absolute avalanche of daily noise and, well, information overload.
Yeah, because we are all drowning in it.
We really are. We want to show you how adjusting your mental time horizon, basically, how far out into the future you're willing to look, can radically simplify your daily existence.
The central paradox that Shu Feng presents is deeply countercultural. The premise is this. The farther we look ahead, the simpler and lighter life becomes.
Wow. Okay.
But the closer we focus on the immediate moment, the more complex, burdensome, and heavy our existence actually gets.
Okay, let's unpack this, because on the surface, that sounds incredibly counterintuitive.
It does.
I mean, you would think looking far into the future would give you a massive headache. If you try to plan 10 or 20 years out, you're dealing with millions of unknown variables, right? Economic shifts, unpredictable life events.
Yeah.
So, walk us through why a longer perspective actually removes complexity rather than adding to it. I know the author uses a very specific, almost theatrical thought experiment to set up the stakes of this idea.
Yeah, so the author places us right at the center of a very deliberate crossroads. Imagine you are standing at an intersection, and there are four distinct paths you can take.
Okay.
You have to walk down one of them. Each path is led by a different figure, and each figure is making you a very specific promise based on a different timeline.
Okay, paint the picture for us. Who is standing down these paths?
Well, down the first path stands a president. The president says, follow me, and I will give you a position in government. This path represents securing the absolute benefits of tomorrow. It's immediate power, immediate security.
Okay.
Down the second path is a billionaire who says, follow me and I will make you rich. But this path secures your benefits 10 years from now. It requires a decade of compounding effort before the payoff.
So tomorrow's power versus a decade to build wealth. Okay, what are the other two?
On the third path, you have a pastor. The pastor says, follow me and I will lead you to heaven, which pushes the timeline entirely out of this life, securing your benefits after death.
Right.
And finally, on the fourth path, stands a philosopher. The philosopher doesn't offer a government salary, they don't offer compounding wealth, and they don't offer a ticket to heaven.
Yeah, so what do they offer?
Instead, they say, follow me, and I will help you discern right from wrong. According to the essay, choosing the philosopher ensures that you live a clear and straightforward life. The author then forces the question, which single path do you choose?
Wait, I have to jump in here and push back on the premise.
Sure.
Because knowing human nature and honestly knowing myself, my immediate reaction is to reject the rules of the game. Like, why can't someone just follow the president, get the high-picking government position tomorrow, use that influence to make a bunch of money over the next 10 years like the billionaire promises, eventually go to heaven, and de-live with perfect philosophical clarity the whole time?
Right, the have-it-all approach.
Exactly. It's like trying to order everything on a restaurant menu at once and expecting not to get a stomachache. Why are we forced to pick just one timeline?
Well, what's fascinating here is how ruthlessly the author shuts down that exact line of thinking.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It is a deeply ingrained human impulse to want to optimize everything and have it all. But Xue Feng uses a brilliant metaphor to address this. He says, tigers do not grow wings.
Tigers don't grow wings. Huh. I love the imagery of that.
That's great.
It is just structurally, biologically impossible. You can be an apex predator on the ground, or you can rule the sky, but nature doesn't allow you to be both.
Precisely. The essay argues that trying to merge all these contradictory timelines is a structural impossibility in life. If you think you can take a little bit of immediate power from the president, grab some 10-year wealth from the billionaire, and still maintain the philosopher's pristine moral clarity, your thinking is entirely unclear.
Because the actions contradict each other.
Exactly. The text uses very strong psychological language here. It says that believing you can have it all makes you a muddled individual. It describes this have-it-all mindset as being akin to living in a pure fantasy world or dealing with a fractured, schizophrenic reality.
Wow, that's heavy.
It is, because obtaining all those conflicting outcomes is impossible. The actions required to secure immediate power almost always violate the actions required to maintain long-term clarity. You absolutely must choose a time horizon.
So by trying to have it all, you actually end up with nothing but chaos.
Right.
The stress we all feel daily is basically us running back and forth between those four paths, terrified of missing out on any of them. So we're forced to choose a timeline. And if you refuse to consciously choose, or if you just instinctually grab whatever shiny object is right in front of you, you fall into a very specific trap.
The trap of short-sightedness. And the essay makes a compelling case that the vast majority of humanity falls right into this trap by default. Most people completely lack foresight. They simply drift with the wind.
Drifting with the wind implies a total lack of internal navigation. You're just reacting to whatever gust of opportunity or whatever blast of social pressure hits you on any given Tuesday.
Yeah, it's the perpetual pursuit of immediate benefits. The text gives a voice to this exact mindset, describing people who think, whoever offers me the most money, I'll follow them. Or I'll follow whoever can provide me with comfort, excitement, and pleasure right now.
Just chasing the high.
Yeah, exactly. It's the relentless chasing of the highest current reputation or the immediate promotion without ever calculating the long-term cost of those acquisitions.
And the author doesn't just leave this in the realm of abstract philosophy, do they?
No, not at all.
Because there are some very grounded, highly relatable, real-world examples of this drifting behavior.
Yeah, one of the most striking examples used is the process of parenting.
Oh, this is a good one.
Think about a parent helping their teenager choose a college and a major. According to the text, the short-sighted approach is making that choice based entirely on which specific major will secure a job with the highest starting salary right after graduation.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because if you think about it, what the author is defining as a dangerous, short-sighted trap is actually what our modern culture considers highly responsible parenting.
Right.
Most people would look at a parent steering their kid toward a lucrative in-demand degree and say, great job, you are setting them up for immediate success.
Oh, 100%.
But Shuang is saying, no, that is entirely short-sighted. You're only looking at the immediate financial return in a 3 to 4 year window, completely ignoring whether the child actually has the temperament for that field, what that industry will look like in 2 decades, or if that path will bring them any actual fulfillment or clarity in their life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Optimizing for a 3 to 4 year horizon, while entirely ignoring the 40-year lifetime horizon, is the definition of short-sightedness. And the text expands this concept to much darker, more destructive behaviors as well.
Like what?
Well, it examines people who willingly pollute rivers and destroy ecosystems just to extract personal wealth this quarter. It mentions individuals who casually betray their close friends and family members just to eliminate a rival and secure a promotion at work.
It's the act of sacrificing something permanent, like a friendship or an ecosystem, for something completely temporary, like a job title.
Yeah, and the author even points out those who abandon their deeply held faith for a moment of personal safety, or those who deliberately distort facts and confuse right and wrong just to curry favor with a boss.
Oof.
There is a very chilling, poetic line in the essay about people who willingly sing praises to the devil to avoid risks.
That is a wild phrase.
Right. All of this behavior, being constantly opportunistic, having zero core principles, changing your moral stance based on which way the immediate wind is blowing, is the defining characteristic of a short-sighted life.
You know, it's like drinking seawater when you're stranded on a raft and incredibly thirsty.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, because it fixes the immediate agonizing problem of having a dry mouth. For about 5 minutes, you feel a sense of absolute relief. But the mechanism of what you just swallowed introduces a massive amount of salt and toxins into your system that ultimately shuts down your kidneys and destroys you.
Yeah.
You solved the 3-hour problem by guaranteeing a fatal disaster.
That seawater analogy perfectly captures what the author calls the ultimate tragedy of short-sightedness.
The ultimate tragedy.
Yeah, because the real tragedy isn't that short-sightedness never works. If it never worked, no one would do it.
Fair point.
The problem is that it often works brilliantly. in the short term. The text acknowledges that drifting with the wind will absolutely bring you temporary gains. You might secure your personal interests, get wealthy, feel very powerful for a few years. But the tragedy is embedded in the math. The moment circumstances inevitably change, those who built their entire lives on immediate gratification and shifting alliances will encounter immense troubles or outright unrecoverable disasters.
Because they've built no structural foundation.
Right?
They traded the solid, unshakable ground of the philosopher's path for the quick, easy cash of the president's path. And when a new president takes over, or the political winds shift, or the economy turns, they have nothing to stand on. They are ruined.
The 3 to 4 year time horizon feels like a safe harbor because the rewards are visible, but it is incredibly fragile. It is a house built on sand.
So if the 3 to 4 year horizon is essentially a ticking time bomb disguised as the life strategy, the conversation naturally has to shift to the alternative. How do we actually get out of that trap? How does extending that timeline to a decade or more actually protect us and, going back to the core premise, simplify our decision-making?
Well, this brings us directly to the author's definition of foresight.
Mm-hmm.
According to the text, foresight is not mystical. It simply means knowing the future outcome of a certain phenomenon. And the rule presented is strictly linear. The longer the time span over which you can accurately know the result, the more foresight you possess.
Okay, let's ground this. Give us the examples from the text. How does this kind of foresight actually look in everyday practice?
The author provides 3 vivid scenarios to illustrate this mechanism. The first is observing a young child. The text suggests that someone with true foresight can look at a child's appearance, carefully observe their baseline behavior and their way of speaking, and accurately conclude that 20 years later, this child will become an outstanding talent.
Predicting an outcome 2 decades away, that is a massive jump from the 3 to 4 year horizon of picking a college major.
Right, a huge leap.
What's the next scenario?
The second scenario involves witnessing a teenager in a genuinely terrible, degrading situation, specifically doing the hard labor of shoveling manure. But this particular teenager is reading a book while shoveling.
Okay.
Someone with foresight sees that specific combination of grueling labor and intellectual hunger and predicts that this person will undoubtedly become a future leader.
Wow. And the third scenario?
The third is witnessing a powerful official secretly accepting a bribe. While a short-sighted person looking at that event might just see someone getting rich quickly, safely, and getting ahead of everyone else, a person with foresight looks at the exact same event and predicts that this official will inevitably end up in prison 10 years down the line.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here because I think a lot of people listening might be bumping up against this.
Go for it.
When you list those examples, predicting a child's success 20 years out, guaranteeing a kid shoveling manure will be a leader, or knowing for a fact a corrupt official will be in a cell in a decade, I genuinely struggle with how this isn't just fortune-telling.
I hear you.
Like, is the author implying we need to develop a crystal ball? Because taking the manure example, lots of kids do hard chores. Lots of kids read books. They don't all become CEOs or world leaders. It sounds like survivorship bias disguised as magic.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of how systems work, it becomes clear that foresight isn't magic, and it isn't a psychic prediction. It is a deep, unclouded understanding of cause and effect.
Cause and effect, okay.
Yeah, it's the natural benefit of observing human patterns over long periods without the distraction of your own immediate greed or fear. Let's look at the teenager shoveling manure. The prediction of leadership isn't based on the act of shoveling itself. The mechanism at play is the compounding nature of character traits.
I think
If a person possesses the internal drive to pursue intellectual growth and maintain high-mindedness when they are literally knee-deep in absolute filth and exhausting labor, you're observing a profound level of resilience. The person with foresight simply calculates what happens when you apply that level of unshakable resilience to a boardroom or a political office or a crisis over a period of 30 years.
Okay, I see what you're saying. The outcome isn't magic, it's mathematics.
Exactly.
It's like looking at a seed. An oak seed isn't going to suddenly decide to grow into a pine tree, and it certainly won't grow into a tomato.
Right.
If you know exactly what kind of seed is being planted and you understand the soil, you know what the harvest will be, even if the harvest is decades away. The bribe isn't just a pile of money, it's a seed of destruction. The book in the manure isn't just a book, it's a seed of visionary leadership.
That is the perfect way to frame it. You are identifying the seed. And the text outlines Very specific, highly practical benefits to developing this kind of long-term foresight. Yes, it allows you to avoid obvious pitfalls, and yes, it allows you to take proactive preventive measures in your career and life. But crucially, the author notes that foresight allows you to maintain absolute confidence in the future, even during extremely challenging, chaotic times.
That is a massive point to underline.
It really is.
Because if you only operate on a 3-year horizon, and those 3 years happen to be terrible, maybe there's an economic downturn or your industry is disrupted, you'll panic. You'll think the world is ending, and out of that panic, you will compromise your values just to survive the quarter.
The essay explicitly states that foresight keeps you from compromising your principles to ally with wrongdoers or assist in their evil deeds. If you operate on a 10-year horizon and you know the corrupt official taking the bribe is planting a seed that ends in a prison cell, you are not remotely tempted to join them today.
Not at all.
It doesn't matter how much money they're making right now or how much they mock you for missing out. Your long-term vision acts as a shield for your short-term integrity.
It makes it incredibly easy to say no to things that look tempting to everyone else. And that loops right back to the opening premise of the essay. The farther you look ahead, the simpler life becomes.
Yes, beautifully stated.
You don't have to stay up at night agonizing over whether to take the shady shortcut or accept the bribe because you've already seen the prison cell 10 years down the line. The complex moral decision basically makes itself.
It completely strips away all the exhausting, agonizing cost-benefit analysis of the present moment. You aren't weighing the bribe against your morals, you are weighing long-term freedom against a cage. And that is always a remarkably simple choice.
We've established that the 3 to 4 year horizon is the trap of the short-sighted, and the 10-plus year horizon is the realm of foresight. But the author doesn't just stop at a decade, do they? They actually stretch this timeline out to its absolute ultimate limits to show us what happens when we push this to the extreme.
The essay lays out a definitive, four-tier scale of time horizons. It is designed to show us the true ceiling of human perspective.
Let's lay out that final scale. Where does it start and where does it end?
At the very bottom, as we discussed, anyone considering benefits only 3 to 4 years ahead or obsessing over immediate gains is undoubtedly short-sighted.
Okay.
Moving one step up, anyone considering benefits 10 years or longer ahead is surely an individual with foresight. This is the realm of good, solid decision-making.
The baseline for a clear life. Where do we go from there?
We cross a massive threshold.
Yeah.
The author states that anyone considering benefits 100 years ahead is extraordinary. The text argues that at this level of perspective, they are no longer an ordinary person.
100 years. You are actively planning and optimizing for a time when you will almost certainly be dead. You are planting trees you will never sit under.
Exactly. And then, at the absolute peak of this framework, the author says that those considering benefits thousands, tens of thousands, or even billions of years ahead, they are surely gods, Buddhas, or immortals.
So what does this all mean for us today? Obviously, we are ordinary humans trying to navigate a chaotic week, so we're trying to figure out where we fall on this scale and where we want to be. I want you, the listener, to think about that right now, wherever you are. Where do your daily decisions fall on this timeline?
It's a great question to ask yourself.
Are you living in the 3-year panic of the short-sighted, or are you striving for the 10-year foresight? It is a lot like zooming out on a digital map app on your phone.
Oh, I like that.
When you're zoomed all the way in on your own specific street block, a single traffic jam looks like the end of the world. It covers your entire screen, it is glowing red, it is all you can see, and it spikes your cortisol. But the further you pull your fingers back and zoom out to the city level, the state level, the global level, that massive traffic jam completely disappears into the fabric of the network. You don't stress about it anymore because you see the vastness of the whole map.
This raises an important question, and it's the exact question the philosopher at the crossroads essentially poses. How do we actually achieve that clear, straightforward life?
Oh, right.
Hitting that 10-year or even 100-year mark on the author's scale is the mechanical answer. By forcing yourself to care about the long term, the daily traffic jams, the office gossip, the mispromotion, the slight dip in your bank account, the political outrage of the day, they physically stop burdening your nervous system. You aren't drifting with the wind anymore. You are securely anchored to a timeline that outlasts the current storm.
It is the ultimate perspective hack. We spend so much emotional energy trying to solve our immediate anxieties by fighting them head on. We try to read more productivity articles, we try to outmaneuver our coworkers, we try to force the puzzle pieces together right this second. And Shuefeng is telling us that the solution isn't to fight the present, it is to look entirely past it.
It's an incredibly elegant synthesis of time and morality. Notice how, in the author's framework, extending your time horizon naturally and effortlessly aligns you with better ethical choices.
Oh, yeah.
You don't pollute the river if your mental horizon is set 50 years out. You don't betray your friends if you are thinking 3 decades out. The longer your view, the better a person you naturally become, without having to force it.
You don't sing praises to the devil if you can clearly see that the devil is going to lose the century.
The short-sighted person is forced to be selfish and anxious because their world is incredibly small and resource scarce. The person with foresight can afford to be highly principled, generous, and calm because they know the long-term mathematics of reality work out in their favor.
This has been such a massive fundamental shift in perspective. Let's pull all of this together for you, the listener, so you can use it today. We started with the strange paradox that looking far away makes the present moment vastly easier to handle. And through this deep dive, we've broken down exactly how that mechanism works. When you are faced with a complex, heavy choice this week, whether it's learning a brand new skill that currently feels overwhelming, prepping for a high-stakes meeting, or trying to figure out if you should make a major career pivot, do not let yourself get bogged down in the three-year anxiety. Do not chase the immediate relief of the president's path or the billionaire's path at the expense of your fundamental foundation.
Use the 10-plus-year lens to immediately cut through the information overload. Stop asking what feels good today and ask yourself what the unavoidable outcome of this phenomenon will be a decade from now. What exact kind of seed are you planting with this decision?
And I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to carry with you long after you finish listening. It builds right on the ultimate scale we just discussed. The author says that thinking 100 years ahead makes you extraordinary. It initiates a kind of ego death that separates you from ordinary anxieties. So try applying a 100-year test to the absolute biggest, most stressful worry you're facing in your life right this minute. Think of the thing that kept you awake last night, the problem that feels incredibly heavy. Run it through the test.
I love this.
Will anyone remember this specific problem a century from now? Will it matter in the grand timeline of your family or your community or the world when you are no longer here? And if the honest answer is no, how does realizing that instantly change the way you carry yourself today?
It is a profoundly powerful way to instantly drop the heavy burdens that simply do not belong to you.
It really is. It takes that magnifying glass we're all so used to holding right up to our eyes, stressing over every magnified flaw, and it gives us permission to finally put it down and just look out at the horizon. We want to thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep zooming out, keep observing the deep patterns, and keep looking ahead.